Thanksgiving to you.
And Nicole Rothstein, as it turns out, is her cousin. And the Rothsteins, I'm just gonna add, is a pretty famous crime family in American history.
Some secrets are not just hidden, they run deep, locked into records most people will never see, and tied to stories that keep resurfacing no matter how much time passes. What's catching attention now is an alleged connection that people didn't expect at all, linking Erika Kirk to powerful financial circles that have been talked about for decades. Names like Rothschild and Rothsteins are being brought into the conversation, with claims suggesting ties that raise more questions than answers. And now that speculation is putting her in the spotlight in a way nobody predicted. There have been long-standing discussions around complex financial operations, legal cases, and global networks connected to those names, with stories ranging from high-level investigations to large-scale financial controversies. Some say these patterns are repeating again, but this time on a much bigger and more complicated level. What makes it even more intense is how the narrative is being framed, not just as history repeating itself, but as something unfolding right now, wrapped in emotion, pressure, and a situation that people are trying to understand piece by piece. Then there is Erika Kirk herself, a figure who quickly stepped into a major leadership role after taking over her husband's multi-million-dollar organization and steadily gaining influence in political spaces. But what keeps people talking is everything that seems to be missing. Her past before Charlie is incredibly hard to trace, with online profiles wiped, background details unclear, and key moments in her life still not fully explained. That gap has people digging deeper, trying to figure out how their paths crossed and what led to such a rapid rise. What remains visible is a carefully presented image, one that shows a devoted wife, a faith-driven woman, and someone who described herself as a business leader.
You might not know Erika's exact family lineage, but presuming that they are Rothsteins, it's rather strange then that Rothstein shares family ties to another family, another prominent Jewish family that has been the center of many, many theories for hundreds of years and has been involved in everything from currency manipulation to economic crashes and to assassinations and everything in between. And that family would be the Rothschilds. Indeed, I was rather surprised to see that the two families are related, and pretty directly, because all I had to do was scroll over to the side and boom, there it was. The Rothsteins and the Rothschilds, two infamous crime families.
Even before stepping into a bigger role, but with so many unanswered questions still circulating, that image is now being looked at from a completely different angle, and the conversation around her is only getting louder. The expectation from some was simple: no questions, no scrutiny, and no second-guessing her position as CEO or how she was handling everything behind the scenes. But that's exactly what sparked the opposite reaction, because when things feel off or unclear, people naturally start looking closer and asking more questions. And now, new claims are being pushed into the spotlight, with people pointing to what they describe as newly surfaced information, attempting to connect Erika Kirk to powerful family networks like the Rothsteins and Rothschild circles. These are serious claims, and while nothing has been officially confirmed, the conversation is growing fast as more people try to piece together what it could mean. The idea being circulated is that her role and image may represent a modern version of influence, one that appears polished on the surface but is said to operate quietly in the background. Some commentators are framing it as a shift in how influence works today, suggesting that visibility is reduced while control stays strong, creating a system where power is harder to trace. Whether that interpretation holds weight or not, it's clearly driving a lot of attention. And it's also why her personal background is being looked at more closely than ever.
With one another, be there with one another, be soft with one another. Everyone grieves differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Especially when certain parts of her history remain unclear or difficult to verify. At the same time, conversations about her family have added another layer to the situation. A relative, Nicole Rothstein, publicly described Erika as part of a Jewish family background, while also noting her Christian faith, highlighting a mix of cultural and personal identity. She also shared that Erika has deep respect for those traditions and has been part of family celebrations over the years. Nicole went further, speaking about Erika on a personal level, saying she has witnessed her grieving privately, away from public view. According to her, while Erika appears composed in public, there is a different side behind closed doors, one that reflects real emotion and struggle. That perspective has added a more human element to the discussion, even as the broader speculation continues to grow and draw attention. There is growing frustration from some people who feel the narrative around Erika Kirk has gone too far, especially when it comes to constant criticism and speculation about her background. But at the same time, others point out that new details keep surfacing, and that's exactly what keeps the conversation alive and evolving. One of the key talking points right now is her past connection to the real estate world, specifically her reported time with the Corcoran Group. Records suggest she was affiliated with the company, even though there is little public evidence of completed property sales during that period. That alone has raised eyebrows, with people questioning how she secured that position in the first place and what her actual role may have been. Then the discussion shifts into broader claims tied to documents that have circulated online, including references connected to Epstein-related records. These mentions have led some commentators to speculate about overlapping networks involving property dealings and high-level connections. It's important to note that many of these claims remain unverified, but they continue to draw attention because of the names involved and the scale of what's being suggested.
I get this question too of, well, you were a stay-at-home mom and all this stuff, like that's what you should go back to doing or something like that. A lot of people don't realize that before I met Charlie, I had my own company, and I still do. And it was one of those things where I built it in a way where that when I got married and had children.
As a result, some individuals have argued that her role at the company may have been more complex than it appeared on the surface, while others push back, saying there is no confirmed evidence to support those assumptions. Still, the speculation has expanded into discussions about family ties, with certain voices claiming that connections behind the scenes may have influenced opportunities. Again, these are claims being debated, not established facts, but they are part of the larger conversation unfolding right now. That attention has also extended to organizations connected to her, including charitable efforts like Romanian Angels and Everyday Heroes. These groups are now being examined more closely by critics who are asking questions about structure, funding, and transparency. At the same time, supporters argue that charity work should not automatically be viewed with suspicion, especially without clear proof of wrongdoing. Family business history has also been pulled into the spotlight, particularly discussions around multiple LLCs associated with relatives. Some people see patterns they believe are worth investigating, while others caution against jumping to conclusions based on incomplete information. The same divide appears when older cases involving extended family connections are mentioned, with past legal issues being brought up as context, even if they are not directly tied to Erika herself. There are also claims about broader networks involving individuals her family may have known, along with references to past business partnerships. These connections are being interpreted in different ways depending on who is looking at them. Some see coincidence, others see patterns, and that difference in perspective is what keeps the debate going strong. At the center of all of this is a bigger question people keep asking.
By USA Today states that Erika Kirk worked as a real estate agent in New York City for the Corcoran Group. So if we're to believe the story that she works as a real estate agent for the Corcoran Group, then her boss would be Pamela Liebman, because Pamela has been the president and CEO of the Corcoran Group since 2000. At least that's what the public has been told. Now, in this Epstein document that's doing an official name search and alias for Lynn Forrester, aka Lindy Rothschild, it states that under her work affiliations that she is the Corcoran Group Inc., but if Erika was involved in anything sketchy and she needed to receive payment, having her work for the Corcoran Group as a real estate agent would be a very easy way to launder money, right?
How did Erika Kirk move so quickly into influential spaces at such a young stage in her career? Was it timing, opportunity, personal ability, or something else entirely? That question has not been clearly answered, and until it is, the discussion around her background, connections, and rise is unlikely to slow down anytime soon. Pageant wins, fast-tracked opportunities, and stepping into major roles at a young age. That's what keeps people locked into this story right now. From early involvement in international projects overseas to later moving through high-level real estate circles connected to major properties in Miami, the timeline doesn't look typical at all. For many watching closely, it raises one big question that keeps coming back again and again. How do doors like that open so quickly for someone without the usual background or experience? Some say it's all about timing, confidence, and being in the right place at the right moment, but others are not convinced by that explanation at all. They're looking at the pattern, not just the moments, and they're saying this doesn't feel random. It feels structured, Like steps were already laid out long before anyone started paying attention. And once that idea gets into people's minds, everything starts to look different. Every opportunity, every connection.
What the heck the purposes of these LLCs are? What do these businesses actually do? Lori has LLCs coming out of her ears. Okay. Lori's got a lot going on. And I want to say something else. Her professional backstory in and of itself, it's odd. It's kind of like Erika odd, to be honest, right?
Every sudden shift starts to feel like part of something bigger. The conversation gets even more intense when her early achievements are brought up. Running or being involved in an international NGO at such a young age is not something people see every day. That alone would usually come with years of preparation, networks, and backing. So when people see that combined with later roles in business and political spaces, they start connecting dots. They start asking who was behind the scenes, who opened those doors, and what connections were already in place before the public ever knew her name. Then there is the real estate angle, which adds another layer that people can't ignore. Being linked to a well-known company operating in high-value markets like Miami is already a big deal. But what really keeps the discussion alive is the lack of clear public records showing major deals or transactions tied to her during that time. That gap between position and visible results is what fuels speculation, because people are left trying to figure out what her actual role was and how she ended up there in the first place. This is where the conversation starts shifting toward family background again. Earlier, people were already talking about connections through the Rothstein side, especially after comments from relatives confirmed parts of her heritage and family ties. That alone gave people something to work with. But now new claims are being circulated online suggesting even broader links to powerful financial families. These claims are not confirmed, and that's important to say clearly, but they are still spreading fast and shaping how people see her story. Some commentators describe it as a modern version of influence, where names, identities, and public images evolve over time, but networks and access stay consistent. In that view, what people are seeing is not something new being created.
On Friday, we let you guys know that Erika's mother, Lori, has always used an Erpenbeck brother on her paperwork. He's signing things for her, helping her to form these many corporations. Rick Erpenbeck is his name, whose brother Bill did over 2 decades in prison for financial fraud, trying to kill his sister, threatening to kill his sister, burying cash on a golf course, just run-of-the-mill stuff, And Rick's father, Tony, tried to arrange for the kidnapping and murder of some kids because he was upset that he was getting time in prison. We can now confirm that it's not just Lori who was close to Rick, but Erika is.
But something that has been operating quietly for years, just presented differently to fit the current world. It's a bold claim, and not everyone agrees with it, but it's one of the main ideas driving the current wave of attention. Others push back strongly, saying this is exactly how speculation gets out of control. They argue that just because someone has connections or a complex background does not automatically mean there is anything deeper going on. They point out that success can come from a mix of personal ability, timing, and the right opportunities, without needing to attach it to hidden networks or long-term plans. That divide between those two perspectives is what keeps this story from settling down. Moments that once seemed completely normal are now being re-examined in detail. Photos, public appearances, and known associations are all being looked at again, with people trying to figure out if they meant more than they appeared to at the time. A picture with a well-known figure, a shared event, or even overlapping circles suddenly becomes something people analyze closely, asking whether it was coincidence or part of a longer chain of connections. The mention of individuals like Tyler Bauer and others connected to similar circles has only added to that curiosity. When multiple names keep appearing in overlapping spaces, it naturally raises questions, even if there is no confirmed link between them beyond social or professional contact. For some, it's just how networks work in high-level environments. For others, it looks like a pattern that deserves a closer look. At the center of all this is the idea that her rise was not just fast, but unusually smooth. There were no long public struggles, no slow climb through smaller roles that people could track step by step. Instead, it feels like she appeared already positioned in places that usually take years to reach. That's what makes people stop and pay attention, because it breaks the usual expectations of how careers in those spaces develop. Another layer that keeps coming up is how little verified information exists about certain parts of her earlier life. In a time where almost everything leaves a digital footprint, the absence of clear records stands out. People are used to being able to trace someone's path through posts, profiles, and public mentions. So when that trail is incomplete or difficult to follow, it naturally leads to more curiosity and more questions. At the same time, it's important to keep in mind that not everything that is unclear automatically means something is being hidden. There are many reasons why information might not be widely available, including privacy choices, changes in career direction, or simply not having a strong public presence early on. But in a situation where attention is already high, even normal gaps can start to look suspicious to those who are already questioning the bigger picture. The claims about broader family ties, including suggestions of links to major financial dynasties, are still in the category of speculation. There is no official confirmation supporting those ideas, and that's something that should not be ignored. But the fact that these claims are being discussed at all shows how much interest there is in understanding her background and how she reached her current position. What makes the situation even more complicated is how quickly narratives can form online. Once a theory starts gaining traction, it spreads fast, and people begin building on it, adding new pieces, connecting different stories, and creating a version of events that feels complete, even if it is not fully verified. That's why it's so important to separate what is confirmed from what is still being debated. Still, the core question remains the same, and it hasn't been answered clearly yet. How did Erika Kirk gain access to high-level opportunities so early? And how did she move through them so quickly? Was it a combination of talent, timing, and personal drive? Or was there additional support and connection behind the scenes that hasn't been fully explained? That question is what keeps people watching, discussing, and digging for more information. Because until there is a clear and widely accepted explanation, the gap between what is known and what is being suggested will continue to fuel conversations like this. At the end of the day, there are two sides to how people see this story. One side believes this is simply the result of opportunity and personal ability coming together at the right time. The other side believes there is more beneath the surface, something that hasn't been fully revealed yet. And right now, neither side has been able to completely prove the other wrong, which is why the discussion is still going strong. So what do you think about everything that's being discussed right now? Do you see this as a case of fast success and timing? Or do you think there's more going on behind the scenes that hasn't been fully explained yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and share this with someone who needs to see it. See you on the next one.